Hello everyone, I'm Mike DeAngelo with That's Entertainment, and this is your video review of BioShock 2 by 2K Marin. In 2007, 2K Games released BioShock, a title that had been much talked about, but being a new intellectual property, had yet to prove itself. When it hit the market, it did all that and more. It went on to become one of 2007's Games of the Year, and cemented the idea that BioShock would not just be a singular title, but an ongoing series. In February of 2010, the sequel of the game was released, bringing players back to the underwater city of Rapture. Does BioShock 2 rise to the occasion, or does it sink under the huge expectations left behind from the first game? Eight years after the original BioShock, a new tyrant has taken over Rapture, and a new civil war is breaking out, with you at the forefront. Sophia Lamb, a distinguished psychologist, would lead the underwater city away from its individualistic roots and into a society where life is enriched through community. You play as Subject Delta, the original Big Daddy. 10 years prior to the game's setting, Lamb used a plasmid to gain control of you and explains that the little sister you are protecting is her daughter, Eleanor. After recovering her daughter, she has no need for you and has you commit suicide. However, as is often the case in Rapture, just because something seems dead, that doesn't mean it is. When you wake up 10 years later, you are sent telepathic images of Eleanor and given messages from her that she requires rescue. She sets you off on your way and you eventually meet up with Bridget Tenenbaum, who is trying to prevent Lamb from stealing young girls from the surface world. You also meet her ally, Augustus Sinclair, who has his own mysterious agenda for aiding you. While the narrative isn't as strong in BioShock 2 as the first game, there are still plenty of details to divulge from audio logs, and the story is serviceable. The game depends slightly more on the concept of choice as well. Under the guise of the first Big Daddy, it seems like there would be a lot of gameplay changes. The monstrous creatures were practically invincible in the first game, and were uncannily vicious. You don't really retain the same treatment. As Delta, you practically seem as human as Jack Ryan from the first game. You are not indestructible, you do run out of ammo, and you are not feared. There are several important gameplay elements that open up as a result of helming a Big Daddy in the sequel. For one, little sisters work with you now, harvesting Atom for you to utilize to buy plasmids. In addition, new underwater mechanics are possible in the game, and you don't have to worry about running out of air. The weapons all have a fairly similar feel to them, even if they have been tuned to seem as if they were designed solely for the Big Daddy. Graphically, not much has changed since the first incursion on Rapture. Everything is either colorful and fluorescent neon lights, or dreary and drab due to failing power. There are some new effects that help to push the story forward, such as rapid flooding, but otherwise the game doesn't seem to bring too much to the table that changes it from its predecessor. The graphics are not fantastical, but they work. The voice acting, as with the first game, is top-notch. In a series where the story is meant to captivate and encapsulate, narrative and dialogue needs to be conveyed flawlessly, and BioShock 2 does not disappoint. The sound, too, performs very well, letting you know definitively how much danger you're in.
Daddy was sleeping for such a long time, and Eleanor...
As with the original game, one of the paramount themes is choice. This holds over even more in the second game, leading you to another dilemma: to play again or not. The game itself isn't too long, but all the searching and planning helps to tack on some time. The choices you make more directly affect the actual game this time through, and not just the ending. To help lengthen the game and give you some bang for your buck, BioShock 2 also has a multiplayer mode. It's just your generic first-person shooter fare, but it has some BioShock flavor to it, letting you tackle a couple different game modes within Rapture just before the events of the first game. For its sophomore adventure, the BioShock franchise doesn't take any decidedly adventurous risks. Whereas the first game had a stellar story and a setting that had never been done before, BioShock 2 just seems a little bit like a retread. With that said, however, the game is still pretty great. If you're looking to be enchanted by the latest trip to Rapture, you'll end up a little disappointed. But if you take BioShock 2 at face value, you'll be pleasantly surprised. That's Entertainment awards BioShock 2 a score of 8.5 out of 10.